What comes to mind when you think about Zach Galifianakis?
What?
I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
He's a funny guy, with a lot of stand-up comedy experience under his belt before his movie career took off. But what do people really bother to know about Zach beyond his character types? Characters like this. Or this.
4 of us wolves, running around the desert together in Las Vegas, looking for strippers and cocaine.
Or this.
But this dog has a ton of fight in him. A ton of fight. And when I get a scent, I hunt, brother. I hunt all day long.
The reason I'm asking is because there's a lot more to this man than what people see on the surface. But I wouldn't blame people who only see him as this comedic persona. And he definitely takes enjoyment in entertaining people in this way. He's just a type of person that, to me, really lights up a room because of his history of making people laugh. He can make you laugh by talking goofy or talking like he's serious.
I realized when we were bathing once that his testicles fit perfectly in my belly button.
How do you know these guys, by the way? Why do you like them?
Ricky, to be honest, Ricky emailed me, knew I was going to be in town, and said, look, I really need to get on television again.
I don't know. I did a show a few months ago in East Pasadena at a steakhouse. My career is not really where it used to be.
A lot of times you can't tell if he's joking or not. And to me, that's a very funny style. It shows that unlike other comedians, he's not trying too hard, and a lot of his jokes are more quick-witted and clever than loud or raunchy. He's really the type of entertainer where you see his face, hear his voice, and with his great comedic timing, just makes people laugh. He can be doing nothing, and you're still holding it in, waiting for that moment where he makes you bust out laughing. Even just hearing his name makes people laugh, not only because of his funny last name, but just when people visualize him doing something. It's something that's hard to describe, but it's often described as the it factor. An actor you just see and you just can't wait for them to do something on screen. Will Ferrell is like this too. He has a similar style, where one minute he's being serious, which still makes us want to laugh because we know something's coming, and the next moment he's freaking out over nothing like a little kid at the grocery store.
I love you, but I'm really sick of that big mouth of yours, okay? And I won't stand it, okay? Do you hear me? You look at me when I talk to you.
I don't know what it means to the Twilight franchise. I just don't know.
I'm sure it's gonna be fine.
It's not gonna be fine, ever!
Both Will and Zach are incredible actors.
Thank you.
And I'm sure at times throughout their careers they wanted to dip their toes into something different when it comes to performing, just to show the world another side of themselves. Zach Galifianakis' beginnings do come from wanting to make people laugh, so stand-up comedy was right up his avenue. He came from the small town of Wilkesboro, North Carolina. He eventually moved to New York but didn't think about being a comedian yet. Rather, he just focused on acting. He said how he had all these aspirations to meet this guru of an acting teacher in New York that would take him under their wing and things would just flow smoothly from there. But that didn't happen. And like many wake-up calls younger people get, things proved to be a lot harder in New York for Zach. It wasn't until he was told by a friend to do an open mic at a burger restaurant in Times Square that he gave it a go.
That was the acting coach I was looking for. Like, oh, I found the thing, one thing.
You mean the audience and the experience was the acting coach you were looking for?
Exactly.
And from that point, Zach started to gain some momentum. As stand-up became his acting teacher, it made him better as a performer and also made him find his style over time. He also mentions that he was briefly in the Saturday Night Live community, but for a very short time as a writer. He talks about how it was a very big deal for him at the time, but he was able to take it well when they let him go.
It bummed me out, don't get me wrong, but if I had not bombed so many times on stage already, sometimes you're just not funny, and maybe that sketch wasn't funny.
Zach was still finding his wings, and eventually got roles in movies like Heartbreakers, Out Cold, and Bubble Boy in 2001. He later hosted a show called Late World in 2002, which sadly only aired for one season on the VH1 channel. Although very short-lived and declining in viewership over time, it was still an entertaining show, and you can really see that Zach was having fun with it.
I'm lost. just keep going. Who cares? Who gives a shit? The show's canceled.
The show was
Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
The boy next to me.
And then I pooped on his head.
Good crowd, good crowd.
Very good crowd.
As we all probably know though, Zach's big break in the acting scene wasn't until The Hangover in 2009. The Hangover was a movie filled with amazing quotable one-liners, and Alan Garner seemed to be everyone's favorite character, and for very good reason. But this video isn't about the things we already know, about the Hangover movie hype and all the sequels that followed. But Zach's outlook on fame he gained from this movie is very interesting.
Had that hangover when I was 25, I would be like, let's party! Like, but I was 40.
Yeah.
And I was pretty, like, I had a personality, I knew who I was.
You can tell that he's been around the block enough in the entertainment scene to not have so much buy-in from the success of The Hangover, and that the hilarious character of Alan Garner doesn't define him and his skills as an actor. It seemed to have created a lot of unwanted attention too for Zach.
Strangers just sitting down with us.
So literally, people just sit down at your table.
Oh, because they think they know you. It's an asymmetrical relationship.
Right.
But the good thing about the Hangover movie is that people wanted to see more of him, and in more prominent roles. Yes, the same style of comedy was expected from him, but he was able to show off his range more down the road. And the next year after The Hangover, he was incredible in the film It's Kind of a Funny Story. He did play a comedic character, but also a character that's relatable to us, that could be very serious in real situations.
I blew it. I would do so much. I don't know, I'd just live. Like it meant something.
He did this again with his character in his next film after that, called Due Date.
I don't want to be left alone. I miss him so much. You can't do this.
Zach Galifianakis is a guy that I think could play serious roles well, if he wanted to. But that doesn't seem to be a goal of his since he started as a comedian and grew up wanting to do something with comedy. But you never know what he might try in the long run now that we've seen longtime comedic actors like Adam Sandler get praise from Uncut Gems. He also mentions that he is very aware that comedy is pretty much a young person's game, and it's not out of the question that he might do something more serious in the future. I think with his long track record of comedy so far though, audiences can only see him as being in a comedy movie or being a comic relief in a serious dramatic movie. He did a great job in Birdman, where he was a guy that seemed to take himself too seriously.
This is about being respected and validated. Remember, that's what you told me. That's how you got me into this shit. You're the director. Get him under control, okay?
And was put in crazy circumstances which created organic moments of comedy. Which leads me to my next point. I think that's the big misconception with most people when they watch comedic characters in movies. In the real circumstances the characters are playing on screen, they don't know they're in a comedy movie. The best comedy is when they are not trying to be funny, but taking everything serious in character in ridiculous circumstances. I don't think it was until the last several years that people really took notice of Zach's wisdom and comedic instincts he developed throughout his career. Like I said earlier, you can't really tell when he's being fully serious or just joking around, which makes him fun to watch in interviews. But underneath a lot of ridiculous things he says, you can really tell that he's just a super down-to-earth guy that likes to make people laugh and enjoys being himself. His genuine nature of speaking his mind, but in a very fun way, shows that he doesn't try to impress people or suck up to people just to climb the ranks in his career. He's got that southern hospitality with a lot of big city experience, and he doesn't forget where he comes from. And in case you haven't seen him talk about being a celebrity or the culture around it, he hates it. Here's just a few of the things he said about the celebrity culture and people's obsession for fame and attention.
And so whatever that word celebrity is, I hate it. You know what I mean? And plus, there's no culture in celebrity culture. Zero. Those TMZ shows, that horseshit People magazine, it's crap.
You love the business of show business.
Love business.
More
love
than
the business
anyone,
of, yeah.
I know. I mean,
I get that Variety every morning, that Hollywood Reporter. I cannot stop reading.
And I also think when a lot of entertainers are overdoing social media and tweet, I think there's something missing from their lives.
Yeah.
I do. How much attention do you need?
And with that, The whole explosion of his Between Two Ferns show was based on him expressing his comedy through the ridiculous nature of celebrity culture. And everyone loved it, especially the guests he had on the show. They had fun with it. Lots of improv involved, laughing at themselves, and doing something that's off the cuff and not part of this big movie set or something that's going to be followed up with some controversial articles. It's all fake and just for fun. You can really see how Zach is a very simple, fun-loving guy that doesn't care about the clout, doesn't rest on his laurels, and knows what he's good at and doesn't try to overreach beyond that.
I'm just telling people that they should not hire me as the lead. I am better to be like a little weirdo that comes in and does the little song and dance here and there.
His humble mindset serves him really well and makes him very relatable to us.
I got real lucky. And I think a lot of people do. They get lucky. This town is full of people that can do what I do.
And he seems to be an actor who's great to work with. As much as he likes to joke around with people, he also has a caring personality for others, which is definitely part of his upbringing.
I look at it a bit of a lifeline too. Like here, you're upset now. Let me make you feel better in this moment.
It's just crazy to think of what Zach Galifianakis has done and where he was back then. When I see him in small roles like he had in Corky Romano and Bubble Boy, which for the record, I love both of those movies, I can't help but think of the wasted talent people weren't using from Zach back then. But that's how it goes in the industry. Lots of amazing talent under the radar, waiting for their moments. Those moments come and go. But it looks like Zach was persistent yet patient with himself. And he mentions how he didn't put too much pressure on himself to reach a certain level of success by a certain point in his life. It's very admirable seeing how Zach truly wants to work for the love of his art. He makes it clear he doesn't like the spotlight, but wants to express himself in a way that people will enjoy watching him. Although he's always entertaining in his interviews, he doesn't even like doing them. A funny thing Zach said too in his interview on the Off Camera show, which was released September of last year, is that it would be his last interview.
No, I actually appreciate what you said to me right before we went on the air, which is that this is your last interview ever. And to make it my show and to commit to that, I appreciate that.
Yep.
And it took me a minute to actually process what he meant. Does he mean his last interview ever? Surely he'll be asked to do more for his future movies. But when he genuinely says he doesn't like interviews and wants to keep things private, I really believe he'll make his best effort to not do interviews going forward, even when a movie he's in comes out. I can see how part of this can be because of the pressure of always having to be funny all the time, and that whenever you're on camera or someone has a microphone in your face, they expect to laugh, which I'm sure has been very annoying to Zach in the past. That's just something that's so rare in the entertainment scene. So many people jump the gun the moment they can self-promote themselves, especially if they haven't been talked about in a while. But let's just hope Zach Galifianakis stays active in the film industry and we can see more performances by him that challenge him, but in a good way. I'm sure he has more satirical ideas for movie characters and shows that could really show us a different side of him we haven't seen yet. Maybe I can ask him if I meet him one day. He says he doesn't mind talking to people who are fans, as long as they don't act too much like a fan or expect something from him. And I really admire that.
I would love to talk to people for 10 minutes and really have an exchange with them instead of like a photo for their face, but no one's interested in that.
Well, now they will be. Now you've told them.
And lastly, here's some interesting facts about Zach Galifianakis.
Did you see Hangover 3?
I read the book. The book's much better.
I have psoriasis. Unfortunately, only one of those is true. It was the last one. I have something called EDHD, which is stands for Ellen DeGeneres hip dysplasia. It's where you can't stop dancing for 45 minutes. I don't know, were you baptized naked?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I don't remember. It was before I was 20, though. I know that.
Yeah, I was 5.
Well, that's a little late.
It was a little, and it was my first hard-on.
Thanks for watching me all these years.
Yeah.
But I've got to go do other shit with my life. Is this the big send-off? Like, no one's watching this, Sam.